Ladies and gentlemen, top of the morning to you. And peace to you and yours on this Memorial Day. We have the session 16 with the great Dave Aronberg, ladies and gentlemen.
What's going on, Wales?
Not much, babe.
16 was my playing number, so it's fitting.
Yes, it is. And the story comes out is Dave is a big time soccer coach here with the Ladue Rams in St. Louis area, and then has the best 11. He does a lot of on there, with the web. I'm computer illiterate, but I want you to introduce you for the first time guests. I want to roll out the red carpet. And we want to say that Dave Aronberg, you are the guest host for the United States National High School Champions League starting 11. Woo!
All right.
Go at it.
All right.
Go at it.
So I work on the best 11, and I'm working on the starting 11. I love it. All right, so I got some stories for you today, Wales. So first one, as we're rolling into the final parts of the playoffs here in St. Louis, how about a little bit of prognostication for who's in the next Champions League? So we have 6 teams now that have qualified in St. Louis. Cor Jesu won their district, so 2-time defending champion. They'll be back for next year. St. Joseph's Academy also won their district. St. Dominic won their district. Parkway West won their district. Fort Zumwalt South has won their district, and Summit has won their district. So there's 6 teams right off the top that have qualified by winning their district. Now, we have to fill out the other 10 based off of the end of the year results with the Missouri Power Rankings. And the final ones haven't come out yet, but if it ended today, the other invites would go to Howell, Narings, Kirkwood, Howell North, Fort Zumwalt North, Liberty, Lafayette, Timberland, Howell Central, Marquette. And then you also have Webster, Lindbergh, Oakville, Burroughs, North Point in the mix of it too. So depending on how the final NPR rankings come out is who gets invited for next year's Champions League. You also have 2 Class 2 teams that are still in the mix. And if any Class 2 team wins state, they get an invite to the Champions League. So Westminster and Clayton are still both in the mix to get the invite for next year's girls' Champions League. So I thought that would be a nice story to start off with, just to look into the future. And then my second story here actually kind of looks to the past. So I started to get interested about the history of the Champions League so far here in St. Louis, especially as it pertains to the state tournament. So this year, Cor Jesu won the Champions League. This was their second time in 2 years winning the Champions League. Last year, besides winning the Champions League, they also won state. So this year, yet to be determined, but they could get the daily double this year also. On the boys' side, SLU won this year's Champions League in the fall. They also won state. St. Dom won the Champions League a year ago. They did not win state. But I thought it was interesting. We talk about trying to find the best of the best. You have a chance here to get 3 out of the 4 Champions League winners that also win state in Missouri. So I think that's a pretty cool deal, and I think it's also showing that we are trying to find the best of the best when we do this Champions League here in St. Louis. Woo! All right, off to the third story. You still with me, Wales?
Oh man, I tell you, I'm going in circles. This is so wild.
All right, so I did a deep dive for story 3. You might like this too. And I don't know how it is in the whole country, and I know that this is nationwide, but there is always a public versus private school debate here in St. Louis. Have you heard of this? I know that you're usually more on the private side, and I do represent the public school influence. So, us public schools people, we have a little chip on our shoulder, but I like to look at this stuff. So we've had 4 Champions League champions here in St. Louis. 4 out of 4 private schools so far. Um, so we had Cor Jesu over Liberty. That was last year on the girls' side. Cor Jesu over Fort Zumwalt South. That was this year on the girls' side. St. Dominic over De Smet the first year for the boys, and then SLU over De Smet the second year for the boys. So you got 4 private school champions over the 4 Champions Leagues. I also looked at the Final Fours that we've had. On the boys' side, we've had 5 private schools in the Final Four and 3 public schools, with De Smet being in the Final Four both years. So I thought it was interesting. We've only had 1 team on the boys' side that has made the Final Four for the Champions League in both years. So there is parity at the end of the day with who's making it out of the Champions League. And then on the girls' side, similar numbers: 6 private schools, 2 public schools over the 2 years of the Final Four. And again, there's only been 1 team that's made it both years, and that's Cor Jesu. So just to give you a rundown of the teams, on the boys' side, De Smet has been in twice. That's a huge accomplishment. SLU, St. Dominic, Liberty, CBC, Ladue, Oakville are the teams that have represented the Final Four on the boys' side. On the girls' side, Cor Jesu's been there twice. Also St. Joe, Ursuline, Liberty, Fort Zumwalt South, Nerinx, St. Dominic. So little deep dive on who's been making it from both sides.
Wow.
All right, story 4. How we doing?
Bless you, David. Bless you.
All right, so I wanted to tie in a little best 11 here for story 4. I posted the best 11 all tournament team for the Champions League a couple weeks back after the conclusion of the Girls Champions League. This was the first time that we've really done kind of a best 11 version of the Champions League, and the numbers were astounding. We got over 50,000 views on that best 11 for the Champions League. How about this? You're gonna like this, Wales. Cor Jesu got 4 players first team all tournament for this year's best 11 Champions League team. There were 0 seniors among their 4. So you had Roz Doherty, she's a junior. Maddie DiMaria, she's a junior. Finley Stotts, she's a freshman. And then another junior, Molly Minisrode. So, I mean, if you think Cor Jesu's fallen off, think again. It's like their entire team's coming back. So we could be looking at a 3-peat next year. But just to see the scope of how many people are getting into the Champions League, I thought is pretty exciting stuff, just to see those numbers. Which then leads me to story 5, which is we have sponsors reaching out left and right now to be a part of the movement. So in the past couple weeks, just random cold calling, 2 big time companies reaching out to us to be sponsors. We're talking about a movement that is getting eyeballs. We're talking about a movement that kids want to be a part of, and companies are taking notice, and they are wanting to become a part of it too. So if you are listening to this and you want to be involved in the Champions League, it's not a huge investment. We do a lot of corporate sponsors that help us run things like scholarships programs for kids. Obviously, it helps the different teams with the pageantry in terms of getting victory scarves if they win their pool. All sorts of things that go into running the Champions League that is all sponsorship run, since we don't charge any of the teams that get in. So reach out to Greg Keller, reach out to myself, Dave Aronberg, reach out to the illustrious Jim Hart in Tampa Bay. It's an exciting movement to be a part of. And there's my 5, Wales.
Wow, baby. I mean to tell you, your show business, man, you led off good. And the finale, holy moly. Wow. All righty then, man.
So
And
there it is in a nice little package.
I tell you, I'm going to close up, and you're going to be the first guy to go under 11 minutes. And people that know you and I, they're saying that's quite a feat.
That is. I'm not usually short-winded, so.
Yeah. Oh man, I mean, you have given us the holiday spirit, man, and wish you and your family the best of the best. And go Rams, go Rams.
All right. Appreciate it, Wales.
All right, thanks, Dave. Bye bye.
Yep.
And
Bye.
this has been the National High School Champions League starting 11.